Iron Man players are the sort of people to just go with the flow in their matches and not really take things very seriously. They're not a problem in general, nor are they really bad, per se. I don't really got anything bad to say about Iron Man mains or anything in general other than they're still prone to being freaks in between matches. But other than that, they're alright. They don't have any problems I can think of. Jeff mains are the shining example of thinking that everything is a game. You're having fun no matter what, even if your team is losing, you're still having fun. Teammates yelling at you, in one ear out the other. You're just shooting water and blowing bubbles while having a big goofy grin on your face as you delightfully await the next Jeff skin to drop. The best part is, you're not so bad to work with compared to some healers, and you do your job just fine. You're a very sneaking and calculated healer who may or may not have a scheme or two planned already. You probably chose Loki because you wanted to play a different healer at the time that wasn't the big three of Gambit, Invisible Woman, or Cloak and Dagger, or Jeff, and decided that Loki was the way to go because it's fun to just copy someone else's ult and proceed to be praised by your team endlessly. Just don't let it go your head, okay? You are a healer main who can play aggressively and actually pull their weight. Unlike the one-button chump that is Cloak and Dagger and the Invisible Menace, you actually are competent. Despite Luna being NetEase's favorite, you know she actually requires you to do something that others don't know how to do, which is aim. You also don't complain every time you can't go up front to get kills because you know you're not that strong. Let it be known to every one of your enemies that you will freeze them every time they show up, and you will show no mercy as you blast K-pop and still have the best ult in the game, no matter how many nerfs you get. If you play Magic, you probably chose her only because you have a type, or it's because you wanted to play a more unique dive DPS out of the others that were available. You know how to do your job of being in and out of the backline, and you enjoy blasting metal while you proceed to slice everything in your path and summon demons out of nowhere. You just need to make sure to keep your attitude in check because there's already a stereotype of there being a 50% chance that you will be most likely to argue with the team if you're dying. You're tired. You're tired of solo tanking. You're tired of carrying. You're tired of being the only one making space. You're tired of being ignored by your team when your efforts bring you a long way. You're especially tired of your DPS not pulling their weight while you're busy keeping the front line in check. The only satisfaction that this thankless job gives you is the joy you get when you shoot a three-pointer right at the enemy Cloak and Dagger and channel your inner LeBron James. You are the real deal. You are the underdog of healers, and that is honestly more balanced than the others, and you find immense joy when you put a diver to sleep while you farm assists off your teammates. You will practice your aim for hours to get your shots off, because Mantis is a projectile character instead of a hit scan, so that automatically makes her somewhat harder than Luna Snow. She has been your day one, and you are proud of it. And you love it every time she gets a new skin. You're a bit goofy in a good way. You just enjoy stretching your long arms to hit people, and you take pride in being the hard-to-kill rubber band that you are. You also probably laugh in real life just like him in the game when you use your ultimate, and you're happy enough to get more than 3 bounces off while you're doing the Brainiac bounce. Just don't get too big for your elastic britches and take on the enemy like you're a tank by yourself. There are 2 types of Moon Knight players. There's the insufferable sweat that somehow has his ultimate every 30 seconds, or the dude who just chucks his onk at the enemy and then they block it or destroy it the nanosecond it lands. You take a character who doesn't take much skill way too seriously. And I mean it because I've seen plenty of Moon Knights that just don't get along with their team. They're just as crazy as their character that they play. At this point, people hope you end up in a mental ward so they don't have to deal with you. You've got a bit of an ego, kinda like Namor in the comic books. You let your squids do all the dirty work while you poke at the enemy from the back line and take all the credit by saying that it was all skill. If not that, then you really just hate divers. In fact, you despise divers so much that you want them dead and buried even if they end up 50 feet around you. You probably hate dives so much that you beg for a Hela team up every time just so you can kill divers even more and achieve total diver death. You really clung on to this character ever since you saw her as a playable option, and despite her not being optimal for most maps and having a pretty underwhelming ultimate ability, you really want to show everyone that she's not too bad and will go all the way to do well on defense, and you will work your ass off to make her work on attack. You get excited whenever you play competitive and see the enemy team forgot to ban her and will proceed to show them why they should have. But that's the least of your worries when you have to, not look like a weirdo for playing her because of the weeb stereotyping. Now, I got a complicated stance on Phoenix players because I find them annoying, but it's only because they're good at doing their job on a character who is broken at best and is good at worst. The CC and health regen makes it more of a wake-up call to swap to a shield tank because the damage gets underestimated by you and your team every time. You probably played Hela, but swapped to Phoenix back in Season 3 because you saw how much of a beast she could be, and you were right, since she was broken for multiple seasons. Chances are you don't even like Phoenix as a character, you just play her because of reasons that I just stated. You are the OG Rivals Gooner, because you buy every Psylocke skin because of your obsession with her. You love being the stealthy anime ninja character who speaks random Japanese phrases in between the English ones. There's probably a chance that you also listen to anime intro songs or Nightcore while you game, and you're in an anime Discord server. I mean, just look at how many hours you clocked in on this character, and how long you spent with just her classic skin. There are only two types of Rocket players. 1. You are an actual Rocket player that uses his mobility and decent damage to take care of stuff like shields and other things like enemy beacons, nests, or teleporters, and you give out good healing while doing that. 2. You are a filthy heal bot. You do not actually want to bother being useful because you think sitting in a corner and shooting all your heal balls would just be enough to win the match. You don't bother to shoot anything. You don't bother to do anything at all. You don't do it because even though you can easily take care of it, and you only play the game with one hand while the other does anything else. And at the same time, you're probably looking at something else entirely off screen. With how little you pay attention, I'm surprised you even got it as far as going to competitive at all. You deserve to be flogged and shamed for all your incompetence. You work pretty hard to make Rogue actually viable. I mean, you really try. She's not exactly the best brawler tank, but she's got potential that not many see it like you do. You got so many abilities to use, but not enough damage or help from your team to make it work. And your ultimate is also kinda mid. This only drives you to show everyone that your Southern Queen is optimal, even with all those tenacity buffs basically murdering any potential to use your bread and butter combo. Other than that, you're alright. You're most likely someone with an ego on par with that of Cloak and Dagger players. You probably wanted to play an easier character, but you didn't want to do the job of healing people, so you just choose old Wanda instead. There's also a chance you have over 100 hours on her, along with Cloak and Dagger being in your top 3 most played characters. At that point, I think it's safe to say that you really need to branch out in terms of your variety. There are only good Spider-Man players and bad Spider-Man players. There is no in-between. I mean it because seeing the average Spider-Man with the dime a dozen Lord icon is a coin flip between being the most lore-accurate Spider-Man or the worst player you've ever seen in your entire life. You probably spend hours practicing your web combos only for them to not be able to pull off in actual matches and your teammates are yelling at you to switch. At that point, yeah, I could see why they want you to switch. Hang up the mask. You have a delusion that just because you play an easy character, you are to be held to a high degree. You often mistake sitting in the back in one spot shooting in one direction for massive skill. You take pride in the enemy not knowing where you are or how they keep dying from your stupid acorns because it turns out you're all the way back in, spawn hitting a corner, and then you're hitting off trick shots on a wall that end up bouncing your acorns across the fucking map. You also somehow don't mind the fact that Squirrel Girl will not stop talking in the most annoying way possible. How can you stand this and think that this is fine? You're someone who knows how to take action and look good while doing it. You know how to properly use your maneuverability to its fullest and with precision and manage to slip away at the right time and look awesome while doing it. You're a problem for any brawler tanks, and you love it when they just give you free ult charge because there's nothing they can really do except get shot in the face a million times. Once you get that Gambit ultimate ready with your Spotify plan, you are absolutely ready to stomp the supports feeling like Star-Lord himself. And you just love it when they give you a new dance emote. You are still trying to make Storm work so that you can relive the glory days of Season 1, but that's been a series of ups and downs for you. You really do like playing Storm, and you wish that they would give her the same amount of love as other flyers in this game in terms of the moves department, because everyone that has a flying mechanic has a dashing move. Even Human Torch got one. Meanwhile, you're stuck with having to switch to wind mode, which is not as preferable to the damage boost. At least they give you a skin every once in a while, but you're just not enough. You just hope that they gotta love you at some point and give you a new buff.